Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing the 2022 North Carolina Senate Shortlist as of December 3rd, 2020, as of this recording. So, I have 10 candidates, 2 of which have already been confirmed. The 10 candidates who I believe are, the most likeliest to win their party's nomination. 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats. And I have ranked them by how I would support them. Of course, there are always that irregularities who could always pop up and become the populist outsider candidate that we've never heard of, similar to Andrew Yang or Ben Carson. That's always the case. So let's just start rolling in with number 10. And number 10 is a candidate that's already been confirmed. She was the first person to throw her name out for the Senate race, and that was State Senator Erica Smith, a Democrat. The Democrat State Senator Erica Smith. A pro is that she is very popular amongst progressives. Progressives love her, though North Carolina is not a progressive-heavy state, so that could also be a downside as well. Con is that she's already lost. She came second to Cunningham, who ended up being very, very unpopular, and lost to someone who wasn't even as popular as Cal Cunningham, was Tom Tillis. He lost to Tillis. And again, this is supposed to be a red wave year, and you don't want someone who lost in a general election year during a primary where progressives were fired up, I guess you could say, to vote. And you just don't want that. Erica D. Smith, she's an all right politician. Not my cup of tea, but again, if Republicans were to nominate someone who was just terrible and not the 5 on this list, I would definitely support her over them. But then again, there's nobody I can think of that would do that. Next up is another Democrat, is going to be State Senator Jeff Jackson. I do like Jeff Jackson, though I don't know how his voting record would be if he were to be in the Senate. It could be how I would expect it, very moderate, more left-leaning, of course, but nothing like, he's a socialist kind of thing. A pro, he's already being vetted by Senate Dems. According to an article I read, crap was it? I don't remember. But Chuck Schumer has already got in contact with him to maybe run for Senate in 2022. Maybe, who knows? But a con is that he has low name recognition. Not a lot of people know who Jeff Jackson is. Excuse me. Oh God, excuse me. But not a lot of people know who Jeff Jackson is, and that could tarnish his chances to win the nomination. Do I think if it was a one-on-one race between him and Smith, do I think he'd win? Most likely, I do think he'd be able to win. But then again, Erica D. Smith already has that name recognition of running in 2020. But who knows? I could be wrong. I usually am. Next up is a Republican, Pat McCrory. Very low. It could surprise most of you, but he's the former governor of North Carolina, a Republican. The pro, he has name recognition within the state. And a con is that he has a low favorability in the state as well, in the high 30s, a 38 approval last time I checked. And he's teasing something. He ruled out a run again in 2020, and also ruled out a District 9 House run in 2018 and 2020 respectively. So people are starting to point to the Senate. Maybe he could end up running for Senate. Probably not running for president. I don't think he'd be a very low-named candidate. Very something like Richard Ojeda, Eric Swalwell. He'd be one of the first people to drop out, if I had to guess. But definitely Pat McCrory. Do I see Pat McCrory beating Jackson and Smith in the general? Absolutely. Especially a red wave year, despite his low favorability. Tom Tillis, I think, has a lower favorability than Pat McCrory does. So, I would like to see him in the Senate, though there are other people I'd like to see than Pat McCrory be in the Senate. Next up is a Democrat, Deborah Ross. Deborah Ross is currently the Congresswoman-elect from North Carolina's 2nd District. And a pro is that she has good name recognition. She ran against Richard Burr 6 years ago. Or, well, at this point, 4 years ago. She ran in 2016, excuse me. And, well, she lost by a likely margin, but then again, Richard Burr, very popular in North Carolina. Not nationwide. Burr's not popular nationwide, but very popular in North Carolina. And again, similar to Eric D. Smith, she lost. You don't want someone who already lost in a general year. Funny how her and Smith both lost in a general election year. You don't want them running in what is being talked about a red wave year. That's how midterms work. You don't want them running again. Next up is a Republican. The only Republican that is thrown their name out there, and that is Mark Walker. He's the outgoing congressman from North Carolina's 6th. His district probably only flipped just because of redistricting. A pro is that he has experience in Congress. If he were to go to the Senate, he probably already know what he needed to do, with some minor adjustments, of course. A con, he isn't liked by the America First wing, as I know of. He's more of the traditionalist establishment neocon conservative, as I have known right now. Either that or he's the middle of the road, but he isn't all that liked by the America First. But I've seen people have said pretty negative things about him. Would I support him? I'd support him over Pat McCrory, obviously. I think he just done I can't speak. Very fair job in Congress, better than what I believe Pat McCrory did in North Carolina. So I believe he would be the better choice when it comes to the two. Do I think he'd be able to beat Deborah Ross? Absolutely not. Actually, yeah, he probably could have by the skin of his teeth, considering it's supposed to be a red wave year. But if it was any other time, Deborah Ross would probably win. Next up is Roy Cooper, a Democrat. Now, then again, I've had to explain this a lot. I don't like Roy Cooper, but I would rather have him as my governor than someone as Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, who will bend the rules to whatever they have to do. At least Roy Cooper is a sane Democrat, I guess you could say. He's currently the governor of North Carolina. A pro, he's very popular in the North Carolina suburbs, which is what many people account to his victory here in the state. But a very bad thing is that he is hated in rural areas where you'll see more voter turnout in red wave years, mostly. In most cases, you'll see high turnouts in the rural area, or at least higher turnouts in the rural areas than the urban and suburban areas. But which could really hurt Roy Cooper's chances to win. But he did win, I think 2 points higher than he did in 2016. He actually, I think 2020 and 2016, the gubernatorial elections had similar vote counts altogether, and Roy Cooper did better than his 2016 average, which Dan Forrest did worse than Pat McCrory. So that shows he is fairly popular amongst some moderate Republicans. Next up is Lara Trump, a Republican. She is the senior advisor to outgoing President Donald Trump. A pro to her is that she will increase the GOP presence among white women, which is needed right now. What I have heard is that Donald Trump did better in every category except one, which cost him the election, and that was white suburban women. And, well, that's what the GOP is doing right now. They're doing better with blacks. They're trying to get more black people out there to run, more Hispanic people to run, and even more women to run on the GOP ticket. And that's what's going to help them going forward. And Lara Trump could be the shining star in the Senate that could do it for him, even though we have Deb Fisher. I think that's it. Deb Fisher. I think that's it. I'm forgetting someone. But a con is that she has little experience in government. She has less experience than Donald Trump himself does, which could be saying something. The risk is that she's running after Trump lost in 2020. That is a big risk. If she were to run the primary, Walker and McCrory, they could attack her for saying, you are related, you were the daughter-in-law to one of the worst presidents ever, yada, yada, yada. Which could help her. I don't know. Trump's done some weird things, so maybe she can too. Next up is Tim Moore. I do respect this guy a lot. Not a lot of knows about this guy, but he's the Speaker of the North Carolina House of Representatives. Pro, he does have credibility in government. Like I said, I respect this man. I respect the work he's done. But again, low name recognition. Not a lot of people know this guy, and it's not right. This guy will most likely end up becoming governor one day. I would want him to become governor. If Mark Robinson doesn't run in 2024, he should 100%. The only person I would support over Tim Moore would be Josh Stein. So get out there and do it, Tim Moore, unless Josh Stein wins. Speaking of which, Josh Stein is number 9 on our list, or number 2, whatever. The final 2 on my list are probably not going to run, even though I would love for them to run. I love these 2 to death. Democrat Josh Stein, he's the current North Carolina Attorney General. A pro, he is popular in rural North Carolina, which could have associated to his victory in the state. And a con is that he is very conservative. Democrats will not like this fact, like they did with Colin Peterson, Jeff Van Drew, and others that voted against Donald Trump, that voted for Donald Trump in the impeachment trial to not have him impeached. They don't like this fact, and Josh Stein is about as conservative as John Bel Edwards. Not as, but very conservative at this fact. This is why I respect Josh Stein. He's not afraid to, break the party lines from time to time, which is always needed. Next up is probably my favorite politician of all time, Mark Robinson, who is the Lieutenant Governor-elect of North Carolina. He's an amazing speaker and has extreme popularity, and this guy's popularity is only going to rise. This guy, if you have the fire in his stomach, in his lungs, his voice when he speaks, you have to be there to witness it. That's all I've got to say. This guy is an amazing speaker, and is someone I believe will be president one day. He will be president one day. I think he's going to be president. And Connie has a little experience in government. His first elected post was lieutenant governor, and hey, that was this year. So many people that might be a turnoff for some people, but then again, he's pulled off miracles before, pulling at 4% before the primary, before winning 32% of the entire primary vote, which got him the nomination. Now, who do I think is the most likely going to get their party nominations? Well, I do think it'll end up being Laura Trump and Jeff Jackson at the end of the day. That's what it seems like it's going to, and I think Trump will win by roughly 2 points in the state, maybe 3, maybe 4, who knows. But anyway, guys, this is the Caddick One saying, peace.